Hello. Again, for most of you, I don't think I'm getting any new subscribers, and that really doesn't bother me at all. I can't go on forever with this channel, but it's a hobby and a social thing for me. That's why they call it social media. I also try to, if I think, tell of God's glory and message too in it. And then there's my hobbies, my music, and I hate to admit it, but my beer reviews, which I probably might do one tonight. I don't know, I've got a night off. But I felt like, I forgot one. Making a video tonight on a topic, something that's kind of weighing on me heavily. And I hate to admit it, but no, I don't hate to admit it, but honestly, I don't know what to call this other than manifestations of mortality. And I say manifestations because our mortality is always there. Since we're old enough to know about these things. And, fortunately for most of us, throughout our lives, even though we know that everybody born dies, it's kind of an abstract idea, put in the back of our minds while we live our lives and until our time comes, and an abstract idea. And even Jesus Christ feared his death in the Garden of Gethsemane. I always struggle on that one. He knew that he was going to be crucified, and he didn't take it. Just like, he knew what was coming, and he was frightened, but he went through it anyway. Because like he said, no greater love has anyone than a man lay down his life for his friends. And he did. He didn't lay down all his money and all he had. He laid down his life in a very horrific way, I might add. Roman crucifixion, scourged, beaten, humiliated, mocked, nailed to a cross, a bloody pulp. So, it's natural to face your mortality with intrepidation for most of us. And even though we are Christians and we know that to die is gain, I've seen quite a few people die in my mom's nursing home, amongst other things. And I knew a lot of these people, I knew them. And even those that were devout Christians, when their time came, a lot of them were terrified. So it's natural. I don't think most of them were. So it's natural. Even Jesus was afraid of what was coming. And that's in the Bible, in the garden scene, where he asked God, if take this cup from me, if it be thy will, and such. And he was afraid. He asked his disciples to sit up with him, and they didn't, of course. They let him down in that way. All right, so manifestations of mortality. For me personally, the whole concept of death has kind of left the abstract, and I couldn't find a word for it. It's like it's always there with us in our lives, but out of sight, unless you're very ill or you're facing an accident, like I'm going to be killed, like the parachute for me, the parachute accident where my parachute didn't open. And I said, I guess I'm going to die today, as I'm falling through the sky. And at the time I was caught up in a flooded from a hurricane's aftermath, and caught up underwater in a flooded stream, tangled up, and I thought, I guess I'm going to die today. Things like that, suddenly you face your mortality, or you're in the hospital, you're sick, and you realize that you're going to die. But for me, I don't know what it is. I've kind of been going through a dry spell, and between losing my mother, that was a major event in my life, losing my mom. a major, major event. And it's been 2 years now and counting, and it still is quite a loss to me personally. And you know what I'm talking about. And if you live long enough in this world, I think what I'm going through right now is natural. But then I got on Google a week or two ago and started trying to look up people I knew in the 80s and 90s that I served in the military with and friends. And I looked up these guys and found a lot of them in the obituaries. And that depressed me and it shocked me. You know, in my mind, they're always the same age they were. I knew them 30 years ago. And most of these guys that I'm talking about, most of them were a good deal older than me, 15, 20 years. And some of them weren't, and some of them were younger. And lo and behold, here they are in the obituaries. And I couldn't believe it. I don't know about you, but people I've known that have died throughout my life, killed, died, I still hear their voices. Now, I'm not saying I hear voices in my head, but I can still hear them talking in their voice as I knew them. And it's kind of odd. I know I'm not hearing voices. Let me clarify that. But when I think of this person, like Jim Lafayette, I just found out he died. He was 75, a Vietnam vet. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I served with this guy, and you know, I was at the beginning of my career. He was at the end of his. But I couldn't believe that he was gone, because he and his wife were so full of life, and to think of her as a widow and him passed away. He was a gentleman. Had quite a personality. We didn't always get along. Well, we got along, but we had some differences. Not often. And I really liked him. Honestly, he was a devout Catholic and loved history and just kind of a good person. Honestly, wasn't a saint by any means. Then I looked up some other people that I served with. I won't mention any more names. And they died too. They're all good. They're gone. And I can't believe it. And between that, it's like the specter of death, that is an abstract idea when everything's going well and we're healthy. And it's in the background. But like suddenly for me, I'm starting to have health issues. Nothing major yet, but health issues, you know, that I never had in my life. That probably aren't going to get better, like a bad back and some other things. I'm not complaining, trust me. No, I'm not complaining. But things like that, and losing my mother, my father went 19 years ago. And then finding all these people I knew as friends, they're gone too. And suddenly death isn't such an abstract, way off in the background, waiting for that fateful moment. It's kind of come out into the center now. It's kind of like moving closer to me, you know, moving closer to me. Oh, it's got to get these candles. I can see what I got a picture of this camera I have. I can see the image, so I'm always fidgeting with the candles. But that's why I say it's manifesting. It's like it's moving closer to me out of the shadows. And I don't know why. I've been alone for a long time now. And I just feel like I'm not going to live to be an old man. I don't think I am. I've been in a lot of stress in my life and, you know, lifestyle. I quit a long time ago, thank God. But, you know, I smoked for between about age 19 to about age 40. Off and on. I never liked cigarettes. I threw them out. I hated the things. But I finally threw them out years ago. But I don't know. I mean, you see people that live to be very, very old. And what's the difference? They lived 20 years older than most people. They lived to be a very old age. They didn't die at 75, they died at 95. You know, but what's the quality of life at that point? What's the purpose? Well, God knows the purpose. So, and the quality of life, I think, has a lot to do with ourselves and our relationship with God. But I'm struggling. I'm getting through, but I'm struggling. But to me, it feels like death is moving closer to me out of the shadows, out of the background. You know what I'm saying? And I bet you know what, I bet a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll bet you do. I mean, when you lose, a lot of you are my age, some of you are older, some of you are younger. When you start losing people in your family that you love, and then your friends start dropping one by one, and then your health starts going, and your whole life changes. You know, you start becoming kind of irrelevant to younger people. I gotta laugh about that. But I know there's some people, I work with people in their 20s and 30s, and some of them, you know, I forget my age, and I joke around, I talk like I'm their age, but I'm not, far from it. And some of them just kind of look at me like I'm a fly on the wall, you know? Not to be even noticed, and annoying if I keep making a buzzing noise, you know? And yet there's other young people that are hanging, that call me their best friend at work and buddy, and you know, they can't get enough of me. So, and my children are all moving on with their lives. They have their own children and their jobs, and they're moving on with their lives. And that's the way it goes. And suddenly, you don't have your parents around anymore, and friends are scarce. And suddenly, you know, you find that your life has changed. And then, like I said, people you knew well died. They're gone. I could still hear their voices. If I think of them, all of them, I still hear them. When I remember them, I can hear them talking just like they were when I knew them. They were young and healthy and in the middle of their life, married with kids and a job, a career, things they liked to do, things they didn't like to do. You know, in the middle of their life, engaged, you know, in their younger years, is to say, in their, you know, anywhere from their teens on up to, you know, their middle years, and fully engaged in life. And they're gone. A couple of them are still around. One of them's in a nursing home. I can't believe it. The guy was always really fit. I wonder what happened to his wife. You know, he couldn't be that old. He's got to be maybe in his late 70s. That's old. Anything could happen. So I wanted to breed some stuff here. I've said enough. I really don't know why I even brought this up. To see what you all had to say. You know, I wanted to do a talk on heaven. But that'll be a different topic. So what does the Bible have to say about death? Oh, a news bulletin. What is this one? Probably another balloon shot down or something. Sorry, I should have turned this on off. Okay, so bear with me. I stopped printing these things off and just decided to just take it off my cell phone. So what does the Bible have to say about our mortality? It has a lot to say about it. Obviously, the Bible's all about our lives here and also our spiritual lives here and in the hereafter when the body returns to dust. And it's never pretty when it returns to dust, is it? You get sick, your health fails. It's no fun, is it? Psalm 39:4. O Lord, make me know my end, and what is the measure of my days. Let me know how fleeting I am. All right? Revelations 21, verse 8. But as for the cowardly, the faithless, the detestable, As for the murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars, their portion will be in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. There's my dog with his ears. The second death is mentioned in Revelations 21:8. For it is appointed that we each die once, but when you get thrown to hell, that's the second death. Spiritual death, that's worse. That's eternal. Hebrews 9, verse 27. And just as it is appointed for a man to die once, and after that comes judgment, thank be to Jesus Christ. Matthew 25:46. And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. Ecclesiastes 8, verse 8. No man has power to retain the spirit, or power over the day of death. There is no discharge from war, nor will wickedness deliver those who are given to it. Ezekiel 18:4. Behold, all souls are mine. The soul of the Father as well as the soul of the Son is mine, and the soul who sins shall die. That's Ezekiel 18:4. Job 8, verse 9. For we are but of yesterday, and know nothing, for our days on earth are a shadow. Psalm 90, verse 3. You turn man back into dust and say, Return, O children of men. Hebrews 9, verse 27. And insomuch as it is appointed for men to die once, and after comes the judgment. I already read that, sorry. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 10. For we must all appear before judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may be recompensed for his deeds in the body, according to what he has done, whether it be good or bad. Romans chapter 8, verse 20 to 21. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him, capital H, as in Jesus Christ, but because of him who subjected it, and hope that the creation itself will also be set free from its slavery to corruption, into the freedom of the glory of the children of God. That would be us, hopefully. Psalm 90, verse 5 through 6. You have swept them away like a flood. They fall asleep. In the morning they are like grass which sprouts anew. In the morning it flourishes and sprouts anew. Towards evening it fades and withers away. And again, Psalm 103, verse 15 and 16. As for man, his days are like grass, as a flower of the field. So he flourishes. When the wind has passed over it, it is no more. And its place acknowledges it no longer. Its place acknowledges it no longer. How true. You know, I drive past my mother's old house every day, and there's other people living there. They don't think about who was there before any more than I think about who was here in this old house before, and all they cared about. Its place acknowledges it no more. Isaiah 40, verse 6 and 7. A voice says, Call out. Then he answered, What shall I call out? All flesh is grass, and all its loveliness is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades. When the breath of the Lord blows upon it, surely the people are grass. Let me read that again. The grass withers, the flower fades, when the breath of the Lord blows upon it. Surely all the people are grass. 1 Peter, just a couple more. Chapter 1, verse 24. For all flesh is like grass, and all its glory like the flowers of grass. The grass withers, and the flowers fall off. And finally, I like to tie it all together with John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. And I'll leave it at that. But it's just something I wanted to share, just going through these manifestations of mortality and my own, and seeing so many people that I knew gone. And it's like my brother said, he said, we're next. And you get there, and if any of you got anything to say, you know, let me know. Is there anything else? I mean, I want to ask some of you, people that you knew, that you liked, your friends, people you loved, that have passed on. When you think of them, do you still hear their voices, like them talking? I'm not saying talking like I'm hearing voices, but you know, when you remember them. You still hear them talking like they were when you knew them, young and alive? Some of them I do, some I do. And not all of them. Well, actually, yeah, if I think of each one of them, I can still remember them, and I hear them talking, you know. Not talking to me. I want to make it clear, I'm not hearing voices. I'm saying when I remember them. And I remember them as they were when I knew them, and as, you know, to include how they sounded when they talked. And I found something in the Bible the other day that I didn't know. And I want to address that. I want to look into it some more before I address it. But I found something about, see, I always question whether it's right to pray for those who are deceased, you know, and we're not sure what happened to their soul. I didn't know, you know, Protestants don't pray for people that have passed on, as far as I know. Catholics do. And I'm kind of between the two churches. You know, I attended both. So, as a Protestant, I had questioned whether I should pray for the deceased people I've known. And I've always thought, no, you're not supposed to do that. They're either here or they go before the judgment of God. You know, Protestants don't believe in a purgatory or any in-between state. But there is something I found in the Bible that I want to share with you. Sometime I got to turn it over, do a little more prayer and research. That would seem to indicate that yes, you can and probably should pray for those who have passed on. That it's not wrong to do that, and it could help them out quite a bit. And I wonder, there's 3 or 4 people that I've known that are gone, that when I think of them, I hear them. You know, I think of them often. And maybe I'm called to pray for them, and I do. I have. Actually, I've started to pray for them. So I don't know how to pray for them, but I just offer up some Hail Marys and the Lord's Prayer and things like that, and commit it to them before Jesus. So yeah, it's I'm kind of working a lot. I thank God for my job. It seems like it's one health issue after another. I'm falling apart. Like I kept reading, how many times a day in the Bible do they compare our lives as grass and flowers that, you know, they're here and vibrant for a season, then the wind of God blows and poof, they wither and they fall away and they're seen no more. And I think of like my mom. God, she had so many plans. Right up into her 80s, she was trying to buy homes, open businesses, help people out, develop Christian ministries and camps and things. She was a very active woman. And some of them came to fruit and some of them didn't come to fruit. But in the end, everything she did here, you know, it's no more. Her place here is not remembered. And the same with all of us. All these things, all this stuff, it's just stuff. You know, it's going to wind up in the garbage eventually. You know, everything. The clothes I'm wearing, all of it. My dog, poor guy, he's had a rough day. He went to the groomers. He does not like having his nails done. It takes 3 of us to hold him, to have his nails cut. So, your thoughts on this matter? Appreciate it always. I know a lot of you have been through what I'm talking about, so this is new territory for me, honestly. It may be something I'm going through. You know, I've been kind of bummed out about losing my mom still, though she did appear to me. I say she did. So I got a lot of closure and comfort knowing that she's well, very well. But just not having her in my life to talk to do things for. And she used to do things for me when she was younger. And then I enjoyed doing things for her when she got too old to drive and stuff. I miss all that, you know. So, and here's the thing, I've had great health most of my life. Really, I've been very fortunate. Other than going bald, which happened in my 20s, the usual things that can happen to people. But I've been very athletic and very fortunate. Now suddenly, not so much. I'm starting to fall apart. You know, getting issues like eczema. All of a sudden I've got my arm and stuff, and bad back. Son, I never had a bad back. I was at work, but I'm working with 20-year-olds, you know, physically. I'm finding I can't keep up with them anymore. Though I do try, but I can't. And I wonder why. What's wrong with me? You're old, man. You got old. But like I said, seeing my friends in the obituary, a lot of them that I knew 30 years ago or so, man, manifestations of mortality where it's always there behind the veil, and then suddenly it starts showing itself as a reminder to you, you're not going to be here forever. In fact, maybe not much longer. You know, welcome to the club. Sorry if I seem gloomy. Not always rainbows and puppy dogs with me. In fact, it very seldom is. Sorry, couldn't resist it. I might do a beer review next. I don't know. I got to go back to work tomorrow night. So I bought some new beer. I might have one or two. Y'all take care. And your thoughts on the matter I'm talking about, anything you want to share with me. We're all in the same boat. I realize that. You are, I am, everybody is. So if you're hearing this, you're in the same boat. You're either further down the river or further up the river of life, you know, where we're at, before we hit that waterfall. I was in our little canoe full of everything, our little boat, what we carry along with all our belongings and baggage, along with our physical bodies, traveling down that river of life until it drops off and is lost, swept out to the sea. Can I get any more dramatic? I think I'll leave it there. Take care. God bless each of you.